You wake up tired, not physically tired, but heavy. There's something you're supposed to do today. An email, a workout, a decision, a simple task. And instead of starting, you scroll, you delay, you tell yourself you're lazy. But what if you're not lazy at all? What if your brain is protecting you from something you haven't named yet? Problem deep dive. It doesn't look dramatic from the outside. You're just procrastinating. But inside, it's louder. You think about starting the task and instantly feel tension in your chest, a small wave of pressure, a whisper of, what if I mess this up? So you delay. You tell yourself you'll do it later. Later becomes tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes guilt. And guilt becomes identity. I'm just not disciplined. I never follow through. Other people can handle this. Why can't I? This pattern slowly reshapes how you see yourself. You stop trusting your own intentions. You avoid setting goals because you assume you won't follow through anyway. And the worst part? The task itself isn't that hard. It's the feeling attached to it. Psychology calls this experiential avoidance. It's when you don't avoid the task, you avoid the emotion connected to it. The brain doesn't ask, is this important? It asks, is this safe? And if your nervous system detects even a small emotional threat, embarrassment, failure, judgment, it pulls the brakes. Not because you're lazy, but because you're overloaded. The question is, overloaded with what? Reframe. Here's the part most people never hear. Procrastination is often a stress response, not a character flaw. When you delay something meaningful, your brain isn't trying to sabotage you, it's trying to regulate you. If a task activates self-doubt, perfectionism, fear of criticism, or past failure, your brain tags it as emotionally risky, and your nervous system chooses relief over progress. Scrolling gives relief. Avoiding gives relief. Even self-criticism gives a strange kind of relief because it explains the discomfort. This isn't weakness, it's adaptation. At some point in your life, being cautious probably protected you. Maybe mistakes were criticized harshly. Maybe performance determined love or approval. Maybe you learned that effort without guaranteed success was dangerous. So your brain built a system. If this might hurt us emotionally, don't engage. That system worked once, but now it's running automatically, and it's exhausting you. So what's actually happening inside your brain when this freeze response shows up? Psychological mechanism. Imagine your brain as having two main systems. System 1 is the threat detector, fast, emotional, reactive. This is largely driven by the amygdala and limbic system. System 2 is the planner, slower, rational, long-term. This involves your prefrontal cortex. When you think about doing something important, your planner says, this will help us grow. But if that task is connected to past emotional pain, your threat detector fires first. Not loudly, subtly, a tight chest, a restless urge to escape, a sudden desire to check your phone. The amygdala doesn't distinguish well between physical danger and social danger. To your nervous system, rejection, failure, and embarrassment can feel like survival threats. So the brain releases stress signals. Cortisol rises, focus narrows, your body prepares to avoid. Here's the mental model. Think of your emotional capacity like a glass of water. Each unresolved worry, each unprocessed disappointment, each silent pressure adds water. By the time you sit down to do something meaningful, your glass is near the top. The task doesn't need to be huge. One more drop and it spills. That spill feels like shutdown, like laziness, but it's actually overload. And here's the deeper layer. When you repeatedly avoid tasks tied to identity, like career goals, creative work, or hard conversations, your brain starts associating effort with threat. This is called learned avoidance conditioning. The more you escape discomfort, the more your brain believes discomfort equals danger, and the cycle strengthens. So how do you interrupt this without forcing yourself into burnout? We're not going to fix this with just try harder. We're going to work with your brain. Step 1. Separate the task from the emotion. What to do? When you avoid something, ask, what emotion is attached to this? Name it specifically. Fear of being judged, fear of doing it wrong, fear of wasting effort. Why it works? Labeling emotions reduces amygdala activation. Neuroscience shows that affect labeling increases prefrontal regulation. You're moving from reaction to awareness. Example. Instead of I don't feel like writing, you say, I'm afraid this won't be good enough. That clarity reduces the fog. I'm afraid this won't be good enough. Shrink the emotional exposure. What to do? Lower the emotional stakes, not just the task size. Instead of finish the project, make it open the document and write one imperfect paragraph. Why it works? Gradual exposure retrains the brain. Small, safe exposures reduce the threat response over time. The amygdala learns, we survived this. Example. You don't commit to working out for an hour. You commit to putting on your shoes and stepping outside for 2 minutes. The goal isn't productivity, it's nervous system recalibration. Reduce background emotional load. What to do? Clear one small unresolved stressor daily, a message you've been avoiding, a messy surface, a conversation you've postponed. Why it works? Cognitive load theory shows that unfinished tasks occupy working memory. They drain mental bandwidth. Lower background stress and the glass empties. Example. You send the awkward email you've been drafting in your head for 3 days. Your body feels lighter. That lightness creates space for action. Replace self-criticism with curiosity. What to do? When you avoid something, don't say, I'm useless. Say, my nervous system flagged this as risky. Why it works? Self-criticism activates the same threat circuitry as external judgment. Compassion activates safety networks linked to oxytocin and regulation. You can't calm a threat response by attacking yourself. Example. Instead of spiraling after procrastinating, you pause and say, something about this feels unsafe. Let's make it smaller, safer, kinder. You become a regulator, not a judge. Build evidence of safe action. What to do? Track small, completed actions daily, especially the ones you resisted. Your brain updates its model of you, from I avoid everything to I move even when it's uncomfortable. Example. You keep a simple list, sent email, walked 5 minutes, started draft. Over weeks, this becomes identity repair. Here's the simple model to remember. You're not fighting laziness, you're managing emotional load. Imagine your nervous system as a smoke alarm. It goes off when it detects smoke, not necessarily fire. Your job isn't to smash the alarm, it's to check the kitchen, lower the heat, open a window, teach the system that cooking isn't danger. Every time you respond with awareness instead of shame, you lower the baseline. Every time you take one small action under discomfort, you retrain the alarm. And slowly, the heaviness becomes lighter. Not because life got easier, but because your nervous system feels safer. Quiet, empowering close. You were never lazy. You were overloaded, carrying invisible pressure, old expectations, unprocessed fear, and trying to function on top of all of it. So the next time you feel that familiar freeze, pause. Ask what your system is protecting you from. Then make it smaller, safer, kinder. You don't need to become a different person. You need to build a safer relationship with effort. And maybe the real shift isn't forcing yourself to move faster, but learning how to move without fear.